So let's take a look at the strings in JavaScript. We're gonna add a comment right here. By the way, this is the way that you add comments in JavaScript. 2 slashes and you add this is going to be comment. Also, you can add multi-line comments just by adding the slash, asterisk, and here is the body. You can add, for example, like strings. And then you finish the comment by adding the asterisk and the slash. And the next is going to be the code that you want to write in your program. So I'm going to add let name, and if you remember, we saw that when you are creating strings, you have to grab the value inside quotes. So for example, I'm going to add quotes right here, and you can add name. I'm gonna send this to the console log name. You can add name equals to single quotes, and I'm gonna add my name here. Save this, and you can see it's printing Juan Pablo. And you can copy this and paste. Remove that single quotes and add double quotes. The result is going to be the same, but if you remember, if you start with a single quote and finish with a double quote, this is going to cause you some problems. Again, if you mix the order right here, it's going to be the same. Double quotes at the beginning, single quotes at the end is going to cause some errors. So avoid mixing the quotes like this. I'm gonna remove this. There is something really important. It's like, for example, I'm going to add let message, and I'm going to add something like single quotes, and I'm going to add then I said, hey, that's, and I'm going to add single quotes. That's nice. Then we add the semicolon at the end. You can see that we have some problem here. If I send this value to the console, you can see that we have an unexpected identifier. When you're working with this, you can fix this problem by adding double quotes right here, like this, and finish this with double quotes right here. And this is going to print just fine. But let's say that you want to use single quotes, and right here we have another quote. You can escape the quote, and you escape the quote by adding backslash like this. So save this, and you can see it's going to print hey. Then I say, hey, that's nice. So basically, when you're working with these strings, you have two options when you have a single quotes in the middle of your string. You can use double quotes at the beginning and at the end, or you can escape the quote using the backslash. So let's review, for example, concatenation when you have a string. So for example, I'm going to add let, and I'm going to add learning, and I'm going to add JavaScript. And we can send this value to the console log, learning. So let's say that you are printing like this, and maybe you want to add something else. Maybe you want to add some extra information. Right here, you can add something like single quotes, learning, and then we add a plus sign. So this is going to concatenate learning plus the learning variable that we have on the top, and it's going to print learning JavaScript. And for example, you can make this better. For example, I'm going to add a comma, and I'm going to add modern, and we can add something like this, learning modern, and I need to add a concatenation right here. You can see we have modern JavaScript without any spaces. So for example, right here, I'm going to add another plus sign and concatenate a white space. So save this, and you can see now we have learning modern JavaScript. When you are creating the variables, you can also, for example, I'm going to remove this. You can add let learning equals to modern plus JavaScript, and I'm going to add the space right here. So you can also create the variables like that. It's going to be a variable with two strings that are concatenated, and save this, and you can see we have modern JavaScript. So when you have a string and you add a plus sign, this is going to concatenate, but if you have numbers, this is going to make the addition. You can see we have 4. So that's really, really important. So let's add 2 more examples. Concatenate two variables. For me, the most important thing is to practice, continue practicing. The more that you practice, the easier these codes are going to be when you are working with the projects. So we're gonna make two quick examples. Let learning, and we're gonna add learning, comma, and we're gonna add the text. It's going to be JavaScript. This is going to be a really simple example. We can add console.log, and we're gonna add learning plus single quotes and space and the text that we are learning. You can see we have learning JavaScript. Now let's add concatenate variables with strings. This is going to be a more advanced example. So let's create a variable called band. It's going to be equal to Metallica, comma, and we're gonna add the song, and we're gonna add enter Sandman. So we're gonna create a band and a song, and we're going to add another variable called let playing. And this is going to be initialized without any values. And we're gonna add playing. It's going to be equals to playing plus, and we're gonna add the band plus, and I'm gonna add a space. I'm gonna add by, and I think I make this in the wrong order, like this, song and band. And we're gonna send this value to the console, console log playing. Save this, and you can see now we have playing, enter Sandman by Metallica. So you can see here we have two variables, then we have some strings right here, and we're concatenating everything into this other variable. There is another way to concatenate. I'm gonna add, for example, let learning, and we can add something like learning equals to modern, and then we can add again learning, and we're gonna concatenate from the previous line. We're gonna add plus equals JavaScript, and you can send this value to the console, learning. So you can see we have modern JavaScript. So using this syntax, we are initializing the value like this, but adding this plus sign equals is going to keep the modern keyword that we added in the previous line, and it's going to append the JavaScript keyword, and at the end it's going to print modern JavaScript. So you can add, for example, another line, learning plus equals at Udemy, and now you can see we have modern JavaScript at Udemy. So this is how you create strings in JavaScript. Normally you will create a string and you will give that value into a variable. In the next video, we're gonna take a look at the methods or the functions that we have available when you are working with strings in JavaScript.